And I don't mean to sound facetious at this point, but being narcissistic with respect to your own industry and saying that we're the best amongst everybody else, that's just wrong straight up. It's quite bonkers.
It made it to the final cut of the interview as well. So,
I mean, they absolutely would. Why wouldn't they? I think comparison isn't what we should be doing around here.
So I think in Animal, the same tendency has flowed down.
That is the problem. I mean, a movie is an amalgamation of a lot of elements out there. I'm not saying bring out a critical analysis regarding the movie, but at least understand as to what's good and what's not, rather than just giving out a statement with respect to what they feel. Feelings can be deceiving sometimes.
Yeah.
So hello there, I'm Amogh.
And I'm Inchara.
So greetings and thank you for making your way in.
My pleasure.
All right. So you might have come across the recent statement that Rani Mukherjee put out there.
Right.
Let's just make sure that the audience knows it as well. So recently, Kalata Plus hosted a roundtable, and in that, Rani Mukherjee, while contradicting a statement that was about Iranian movies and how they have been producing some impeccable content in the recent past, and how we as an audience and also a set of filmmakers must learn from them as well, she stated that Indian movies across the globe are the best, not one amongst the best. So I think that has resulted in a lot of polarizing reviews as well across the internet, and people have been putting out extreme takes regarding the same. And so I think this does call for a good discussion. To start off with, I wanted to call this the generic takes, but I have no idea what I'm going to call it now. By the end of the discussion, and when I put this out there, I should probably know what I call it. So if this is the generic takes, whatever it is, just be sure to stick around till the end.
So I believe that Indian cinema has a lot to offer, and we actually are the best in the world. And I would like to live with that.
So I think we'll start off with a question, the most generic one. Are you personally in favor of the statement that she put out there, or against it, or somewhere in between?
Yeah, it's not favor or against. I think I stand in between. One thing I felt was that, as you said, it's not one among the best, but she just straight up said that it is the best.
Right.
As an actor, I mean, I appreciate her work throughout the years. I've seen so many of her stuff. Somewhere or the other, just giving out a blunt statement in front of so many people and in a roundtable conference among so many different directors and producers, I think was not the best decision. It's just that I agree with her saying that there are so many it's diverse. India is diverse, and the content we produce, I think it's one of the large producing countries as well. Irrespective of just Bollywood or something, we have so many languages, we have different types of cultures, which is put out there as films, which should be appreciated. But calling it the best is not something I would be in favor of. But it's not that I'm against it. It is something what we should discuss more, not just us, but people also. Instead of just putting negative comments or telling that she's right or wrong, I think they should have a discussion about it and be open to positive or negative comments.
Absolutely makes sense, but there are no grounds for comparison with respect to the same. We can bring out the numbers as well with respect to India is the largest producer of movies across the world every single year.
Right.
And also with respect to the box office collections and the numbers that it gets globally, it does place top 5 as well again. But comparing industries or comparing movies that come out from different countries doesn't really make sense, because again, if you're talking about it from a critical standpoint, let's take an example of the Dutch industry. There were 7 movies that were nominated for the Oscars, and amongst them, 3 of them won.
Correct.
And India, well, we haven't seen a movie win yet, so we can't really take those into consideration because that's quite vague in itself. And Rani Mukherjee, I think the statement that she put out there, it was followed by an explanation as well, and I think it's quite plausible. The statement, I don't think there was a lot of forethought given to it as well.
It just came in the moment.
It felt quite impetuous. It's okay to be impetuous sometimes, but I think comparison isn't what we should be doing around here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this whole diversity and all of these things, what she told, I think people should start making good use of those plus points instead of, putting out statements like these.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, it is demeaning at the end of the day. And I don't think she gave it much thought. It just came out in the moment, but it made it to the final cut of the interview as well. So,
I mean, they absolutely would. Why wouldn't they?
yeah.
Anything that sparks
Anything.
controversy, that makes it to the final
It is.
edit.
I think it made some controversial statements. It took some hate comments, and so many of them were in favor in it, surprisingly, which was quite shocking considering how. Indian people have always been exposed to international cinema as well, just than Bollywood or other South Indian industries.
I mean, I don't mean to sound facetious at this point, but being narcissistic with respect to your own industry and saying that we're the best amongst everybody else, that's just wrong straight up. It's quite bonkers. And when you're in such an open platform, I think it's better, it's wiser if you put out your opinions in a more diplomatic manner.
Yeah, diplomatic. Yeah, I think she was very straightforward with it, and she was not diplomatic, which I think is turning out to be more controversial.
It was a contradicting statement to what the other director was saying about the Iranian movies.
Yeah.
And I have visited a couple of ventures, the Iranian ones, and they're quite beautiful out there. And I think there are no grounds for comparison. Again, it's all different genres and different perspectives of the filmmakers. It all comes down to the conviction at the end of the day. Even keeping aside the morality that we as individuals hold, or even what's ethical out there, comparison in itself is just wrong.
People's perspectives here and their opinions are so different that it makes them get that attention, and the Indian audience is too vast. People have different opinions, and as she said, there are diverse a number of audience. There are people watching from Karnataka, there are people watching from Bihar. So on a larger scale, I think she should have probably thought about before giving a statement like that.
Even moving away from what Rani said, I think it all comes down to, if we have to answer the question as to why everybody, at least most of the masses, are in favor of her statement, it comes down to exploration again. We as an audience are limited to a certain set only. We're exposed to mediocre content around here, and it's not a fact that's hidden out there. But when one starts to explore more movies out there, you might have come across this video on the Academy Award stage where one of the Korean director, he's got a translator with him. So he puts out a statement saying, if you overcome that 1 inch tall barrier of subtitles, you'll be introduced to so many more amazing films out there.
Yes, absolutely. But subtitle, it has its own pros and cons. But when, as you said, when it comes to exploring cinema, it is definitely a plus point. Whatever you said, that is right.
Absolutely.
And yeah, people should be more flexible with what they are watching. It, of course, narrows down to what they want to, what they prefer to watch at the end of the day. But still, I think the audience nowadays, especially, I think, are trying to move out of the just watching Bollywood cinemas or South Indian cinemas. But now they are moving more into Hollywood content and everything.
Absolutely.
But even our previous generation, they are not much exposed to it. It is like, despite having OTT platforms and everything, because they are not they're never introduced to, okay, I should watch this. They don't have that mindset. So I think once people have that interest of, okay, I should watch something else and I should explore that language too, I think that's when things like stuff like this will come down, and I don't think there's going to be much controversy once people start exploring it.
On a substantial level, what is concerning is the masses don't do it the way you just stated.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even if there's a lot of exposure out there, even if they have a plethora of movies to possibly choose amongst and watch, they'll still probably stick to Salah that released on Netflix rather than any others out there. So I think even while... Let's put up an analogy here. When it comes to judging an industry, or when it comes to judging a movie, one tends to look at only one perspective. It's quite one-dimensional.
Definitely.
If you remember, we were having a discussion recently, the casual discussion where we were talking about how you, as an individual, come to a conclusion regarding whether a movie is good or not.
When things are made more iconic and they're more nostalgic, people lean towards that more than
even
new
moving
things.
Away from nostalgia here, even watching the movies now, it all comes down to, even you stated that you bring out your conclusive statement about the movie just with respect to what you feel about it.
Exactly.
You feel good after watching the movie, you say, okay, that's a good movie right there.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then that's a bad movie. But I think, I'm not saying this because I critique a movie based on its merits and demerits, but one must on a general basis, at least according to me, take that one extra mile and try to, I'm not saying bring out a critical analysis regarding the movie, but at least understand as to what's good and what's not, rather than just giving out a statement with respect to what they feel. Feelings can be deceiving sometimes.
Yeah.
And I was talking about an analogy about how one looks at things in just a single dimensional perspective. And even when it comes to movies, let's take up an example of Animal recently. The reviews were quite polarizing, and people put out a lot of takes saying it's quite misogynistic, it looks like a patriarchal perspective, and it's more of an exhibition of male chauvinism. And I think I am in unanimity with that fact as well, because it was, to an extent, that. Rather than taking into consideration all of those things as well, a lot of creditable performances that came out of the movie, but people focus on just the negative perspective of it, the underwhelming aspects, and it's always the emphasis on that. So that's the problem always. So if you want to bring out something that's there's a sense of solidarity with your conclusion, then you have to look at it from all different perspectives, is what I'm trying to say, with respect to both analyzing an industry and also analyzing a movie as a standalone.
See, that's what critics do. They have both underwhelming aspects as well as things which make the movie good. And if they have any negative thoughts, they even put that out. But it's a tendency for the Indian audience, or not Indian audience, but generally it's a human tendency that people focus on the negative or the bad more than what they have or what is good. And it's always been that way. So I think because Sandeep Reddy Vanga has done Arjun Reddy or Kabir Singh, even in that, more than positive aspects of the movie, people brought out the negative aspects. So I think in Animal, the same tendency has flowed down.
That is the problem. I mean, a movie is an amalgamation of a lot of elements out there. You can't just say the dialogues are quite abrupt and the placement of a lot of misogynistic content is quite evident throughout the screenplay. You can't just say that and discard the movie entirely.
Correct. People who watch it as a movie, they find it a good watch ultimately. But as I said, when the audience, they concentrate more on what they feel, that's when they bring out the bad reviews, because that's what the mind focuses on.
I think that's where we come to going that extra mile to bring out your take regarding a movie.
So I think the whole thing narrows down to what they explore, what kind of movies they watch, and how different of genres they watch or explore. It's not just Hindi movies, Kannada movies. I think you should have that open mindset. It all starts with an open mindset of watching different languages, not just Indian languages, but also other Spanish or Dutch, or as you said, all of those languages too. So when a person starts watching movies or exploring cinemas with that mindset, then they thoroughly enjoy cinema, is what I believe.
And even in the same roundtable, moving ahead of her statement, Tapsi put out one as well. She said that there has to be a balance between what the filmmaker or the actor wants to do personally and with what the audience wants to interpret as well, what they want to give the audience as well. And I think that does make sense to an extent, because a lot of people out there, they cater to the masses only. As I don't mean to demean Prashant Neil, because I truly appreciate his self-awareness, but he stated that he is in this industry for money, and well, he's quite blunt about the same, and it's all right. But the art of filmmaking is alive when you make sure that there's a conviction from a filmmaker's standpoint. You make sure that you give it your all while filming it, and with respect to both pre and post-production, and also that your audience can resonate with your content and connect with it. So I think one of the best examples for the same is Kantara. It worked brilliantly from both the masses standpoint, the critical standpoint, and also the box office standpoint. So those are quite rare, I know, but it's always about that idiosyncratic approach that you bring to your filmmaking.
Yeah, I agree with her statement of having that balance, as you said, because from all perspectives, it has a good review. Unlike Animal or some other movie which is only based on either it's fully negative or it's fully positive.
Polarizing.
So yes, there is that balance, and I think it also comes from, as you said, what the director wants and what he intends.
The conviction. It all comes down to conviction about. I mean, the best example for the same is Adipurush. Brilliant budget. I mean, even better than Chandrayaan 3's budget, but it all came down to that bullshitry on screen, a fiasco at the end.
Correct.
So the director's conviction is all it comes
Yeah.
down to.
It does.
Again, a movie is at the end a laborious prepping as a whole with respect to all of the elements. You can't just say we're going to work thoroughly on star power and we've got Kriti Sanon and Prabhas on screen. It has to work. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it does not. I think now people are understanding that just keeping one hero or one actress in the cinema does not work at all, because now people are finding the storylines equally important, the direction, the cinematography, as well as the music to be equally important. So I think a good movie should be based on all of these, and as she said, the balance, and it should also resonate with the audience.
Absolutely.
That is when it makes people find it a good watch.
No, agreeably so.
Yes.
Right. So I think that quite literally concludes what we're here to talk about. And we are not here to bring out a unanimous statement of sorts that people can resonate with and say, okay, they're right. They have come to the conclusion. We put out our opinions with respect to the same, keeping aside the morality at the end, because morality would bring up a lot of other discussions as well. But this should be it. And I think one should be open to expressing his or her opinions with respect to both movies or maybe even the absurd statements put out there.
Correct.
But before we bring an end to this, I want to put out a question that's not related to this topic completely, but I think it's quite intriguing because we stepped into 2024 just recently.
Yes.
So I think this is something that we must talk about. So there's a lineup of movies in 2024 and there's loads, all right, on one's plate. But I really want to know that one venture of 2024 that you truly are anticipating for.
I think, as you said earlier, Merry Christmas. I really want to watch it. I've not yet watched it. And I'm quite excited because I read some reviews and some trusted sources. And they've all given...
One being me, but...
Of course. Yeah, so I'm quite excited to watch that. And I just want to know, watching Katrina... after a long time, I think after Tiger 3, and in a new role. And this is a very nice plot which has a little bit of mystery, thriller, and
Sriram Raghavan knows what he's doing out there.
Yes, so. And Vijay Sethupathi as well.
He's done quite a grounded job though.
Yeah. I saw some of his interviews and everything. So it is pretty exciting. I'm eagerly waiting to watch that movie.
So it's Merry Christmas for you.
Yes.
For me, it's going to be unpopular probably when I put it out there. The top venture that I'm anticipating for is Teri Baaton Mein Aisa Ulja Jiya, starring Kriti Sanon and Shahid Kapoor. I think watching the trailer, it was extremely fun. It looks sumptuous, and I think it's got a lot of potential to be that quirky comedy of the year, with also a delve into the artificial intelligence side of it. What if something of this sort happens? I think it's all about questioning at the end of the day. And raising that questions in your audience post watching a movie. So I am quite excited for that, and post last year's trio fiasco that Kriti got through in the names of Shahzada, Adipurush and Ganpat towards the end. I truly hope that this works for her. This is not a Kriti simp talking. I truly do hope that this works because I know that it's got great potential as a standalone, and if it does hit the right note, then it might as well be considered the quintessential example for that genre of movies. And as Shahid stated in an interview recently, he is making his way back into, let's not say completely rom-com, but to an extent it is a romantic venture.
Yeah, it is quite exciting for people who have always found Jab We Met and all those sorts of movies nostalgic. So that is also one thing which excites people right now.
Agreeably so.
And I think that's what people should try to do now. Not just compare it, go watch it and later analyze it, as you said, on a critical point.
Justifiably so.
Yeah.
And even if we don't say analyze, at least think once. Scrutinize through all of what you can place on the table with respect to the elements of the movie and come to your own conclusion. You don't have to go out there and put it out there and say, this was a good movie, write a review. But everyone's out there to write a review. But it's all about word of mouth again. So if you watch a movie, don't contemplate enough and just say it's good even though it was absurd, then it's problematic. And again, I think I'll still visit Teri Baaton Mein Aisa Ulja Jiya theatrically and pay homage to Rakesh Bedi, Dharmendra, and even there are so many good actors out there. So I truly hope it turns out to be a great venture.
Yes.
And 2024 has got a great lineup, so let's hope for the best. And,
we should.
2023 was one heck of an year with respect to the releases out there.
Yeah.
I had a ball watching a lot of them.
It was vast. So many movies, starting from Pathan to ending it with Ganpat and Merry Christmas. I think.
You really said Ganpat there? I think, right, Donkey and Salah, that final clash that we got to see. Absolutely.
So many different things, and I think even for the actors personally, it was somewhere it determined a lot of growth.
They did.
Because Bollywood, I think people, as they stated, that it was a comeback year for Bollywood. I think it indeed was.
Absolutely.
In the perspective of box office, not the storyline or whatever, but in perspective of box office, it did make a great year for them. Hope this year also it turns out to be that great. We are always looking forward to it.
It takes two to tango, so we'll go and watch the Vengers theatrically, and let's hope for the best again.
Yeah, definitely.
And this was great discussion. Thank you for making your way in.
Thank you.
So all of you all watching, do chime in with your own thoughts in the comments below with your unpopular opinion, and let's talk.
King of the road, trailer for sailoring. Trailer for sailoring.